been Rod McKenzie, the Managing Director of Policy and Public Affairs for the Road Haulage Association. Rod, thanks for giving me your time.
Pleasure.
Rod, we've been seeing these queues, 20-mile queues. How bad is the situation on the road? And the question that quite a lot of us have is, Brexit hasn't really happened yet. Well, Brexit's happened, but we're still technically, for the next 14 days, within the EU. There shouldn't be any friction in the borders. So why are we seeing these queues?
Well, it's awful, isn't it? It's absolutely shocking pictures we're seeing from the ports and from Dover. And I feel for the lorry drivers stuck in those queues. This isn't what they signed up to. Why are there queues? Well, it's a variety of factors, but certainly there is some pre-Brexit end of transition stockpiling going on, which basically means that the supermarkets and others who want to get produce in to avoid paying tariffs on them if there is a no deal in January are stocking up with things that won't go off. So that's that's the incoming story, as it were, in terms of what's coming in from Europe. Meanwhile, the businesses involved are trying to get their heads around a mountain of paperwork, which, deal or no deal, they will have to do. And then there's the Irish question, where the Irish ports and the Island of Ireland situation is again chaotic because of a system called the TSS, which was designed by the government to make all this kind of free and easy to do. Well, anything but. And you know, hauliers and traders there don't have much faith in it. And again, there is a problem in Ireland, just as there's a problem around British ports.
As hauliers, have you been given to understand what is going to happen with the mutually recognised qualifications? Because, of course, you need to have permits to drive in the EU now. Do you know what's happening about the number of permits and the qualifications of people being able to drive in Europe?
It's a really big problem, and it's a good point that you raise. What you're talking about is something called ECMT permits, and they are effectively passports for lorries. Just as the driver or the rest of us would need a passport to cross into the EU, so it would be the case that you would need an ECMT permit for your lorry if you were going to Europe. Now, that sounds easy, but they are limited by quota to about 2,000, and there are about 10,000 haulage companies that need them, and you can see the sums therefore don't add up. There simply aren't enough to go round. Now, if there's a deal, there's probably going to be some easement on this, but if there's a no deal and it ends acrimoniously, which it might, and ECMT permits are the only way of getting across, that's a pretty unpleasant situation and very dangerous for our supply chain.
As I understand it, if there is a deal, there is a 6 to 9 month sort of grace period where when it comes to the permits, they stay the same. And I should imagine that after that, there'll be, as you mentioned, some sort of bartering or deal between the UK and the EU. But are we likely to see haulage companies go out of business? Because, as you said, there's not going to be that much to go around.
Well, let's hope not. Certainly, international hauliers, some international hauliers are saying, it's not worth the game, and that they're going to change their business model to hauling within the UK or within Great Britain. And I understand that, and I'm sure we can all understand that. But yes, of course, there is a business risk to those whose business model can't be switched to GB only and are reliant on European trade. So they will certainly be worried. But frankly, I think there's no one in the logistics industry tonight who isn't worried. Because we depend on lorries, we depend on our supply chain, we depend on logistics, and you know what? We never notice it, do we? We never notice that we haven't got things that we would like, and now for the first time we're looking at a situation where we may not get the things that we like or on time, and that's quite a different country to be in potentially after January.
Whether there's a deal or a no deal, are we going to be seeing a repeat of these images in the new year, early in the new year? I mean, it's Saturday the 2nd, Sunday the 3rd, so Monday the 4th will be the proper sort of working day in the new year. What are the pictures we're going to be expecting to see around Folkestone and Dover?
Well, I'm trying not to make too many crystal ball, predictions, and not always easy to do. But I don't think there will be a sort of crunch point on the 1st of January for, reasons that are fairly obvious. Most people will have got their Christmas things or their holiday things. And typically haulage starts to ramp up again in mid-January. So I think that's probably possibly the 4th, but probably a little bit later in the month, where we'll start to see, problems emerge and delays and all the rest of it. We're not going to run out of food, but we will probably see fewer things and less choice in the supermarkets than we've been used to. And if you're a factory worker and you're in a supply chain, who knows whether you'll get the things you want to build whatever it is in the time that you normally get it.
I've heard that, as you said, we're unlikely to see food shortages, but perhaps things like things that need refrigeration, things that need to be transported at a particular time frame, they might be in shortage. What kind of things would those be?
There are some things which obviously can go off much quicker. I'm thinking of meat and fish products. Some fruit and veg, it goes off quicker. But to be fair, you can't say all fruit and veg because, apples, pears, lemons, etc. have got a reasonable shelf life. So it's a very mixed picture. And, you'd have to, I think we have to wait and see on that sort of detail.
Okay. Rod, thanks very much for giving us your time. Rod McKenzie there, Managing Director of Policy and Public Affairs for the Road Haulage Association.